we need to be really considering if what we're doing is going to be something that we can consistently do. And we want to make sure that it's in line with what we truly value. We can change habits, but unless we've really aligned with what is very important to us, what our ultimate values are, and we make those the foundation of the actions that we take, the change isn't going to be enduring.
Welcome to the Thriving After Divorce podcast, where you learn the secrets to reclaim your life and turn your breakup into your breakthrough. Transformation expert, internationally published author, and online show host Tanya Marie Dubé will help you quickly pick up and move on as you tune into interviews with some pretty cool experts from around the world, showing you how to live your best life after divorce. If you're ready to learn the skills to finally put your divorce behind you for good, dig down really deep, and step into your highest self, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, online educator and mom of two, Tanya Marie Dubé.
Hi, everybody. This is episode number 10. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I would like to take this moment to please remind you to like, comment, subscribe, share, and review this podcast. Now, with my online video series, we reached over 300,000 women all over the globe, and we did that in less than 21 days. So my goal with this podcast is to reach 1 million women globally. So with your help, I know we can do this. Because when you teach a woman, you teach an entire community, and the love spreads. So please share this with your community, and let's reach this goal together. So today's episode, I am interviewing Dr. Kori Propst. She is the Wellness Director and Vice President of the Diet Doc, LLC. She's licensed in clinical mental health counseling, and she's a licensed professional counselor. Kori specializes in a blend of coaching and therapeutic modalities, including cognitive, behavioral, positive psychology, mindfulness, and strengths-based experiential techniques, all geared toward integrative self-determination. Her expertise includes physical and mental training and mind-body integration, optimal athletic performance, and overall well-being. So in this episode, my friend Kori and I talk about what it means to find some real purpose in order to meet any goal, and not just with diet and nutrition. We need to understand our why, and Kori will show you how to do that. We need to lean on our strengths and values, and Kori teaches you what that means to her. This episode is jam-packed, chock full of motivation and mindset coaching. If you are in need of a serious boost in your day or your week, you're going to want to keep coming back to this episode over and over again. So let me remind everybody that at the end of this episode, Kori is offering a free gift, and I would love for you to take advantage of that. We'll talk more about it towards the end. And I guess that's it. So let's welcome my friend Kori.
Hi, Kori. How are you? It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
I always love interviewing you. It's always fun. So let's begin. Are you ready just to jump right in?
Let's jump. Yes.
Okay. So let's start with who you serve and what took you down this path.
Okay. Well, Donnie, it's not complicated. I serve individuals who desire to live with a sense of freedom and a sense of competence and a sense of choice in their lives and a sense of connection. Mm-hmm. And I think when we look at the state of our society right now, those are 4 things that tend to be missing in most people's lives. And there's a poverty of meaning and purpose as a result. So I don't just work with individuals who want to shift their nutrition and perhaps want to lose weight. You know, I co-own a company called the Diet Doc, and we work with individuals who want to change their lives in a way that's going to net them success that's going to be sustainable and enduring. And we work with them from not just the physical standpoint, but on the mental side of things, on the emotional, very importantly, the emotional side of things. And so we're working with them from a very holistic perspective, because if we're going to engage in any sort of transformation, we need to be really considering if what we're doing is going to be something that we can consistently do. And we want to make sure that it's in line with what we truly value. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. We can change habits, but unless we've really aligned with what is very important to us, what's very meaningful to us, what our ultimate values are, and we make those the foundation of the actions that we take, the change isn't going to be enduring. So
I'm hearing you say that it's really important to have a why, right? That's sustainable. Absolutely. And aligns with our values before we can really get some groundbreaking work done. Yeah.
Yes. And that why takes reflection.
Yeah, it really does.
People are deliberately putting themselves in a position and focusing their attention in a way that gets them to that place, that ultimate why. And those boil down to strengths and values. What is within me that is driving me towards making these decisions to want to change? Because if it's external, I want to look good. I want to weigh 120 pounds. Well, okay, that's fine. That may get you started, but what is going to help you stay there? You can get to 120 pounds and you can go on any diet you want to, and you can probably get there. But if there's not something more substantial tied to that number on the scale, like how the process of getting there is going to change you, shift you, move you, help you develop new insights about who you are and what's important to you, then it's going to be a shallow goal.
What is one of the biggest problems that you find your clients have when they come to you with this massive need for transformation?
One of the biggest barriers, I would say, in terms of their ability to take generative action consistently is emotional eating and stress eating. And when I did my dissertation, what I was looking at were the perceived threats to weight-related goal pursuit. And by threats, what I mean is anything that a person would perceive as potentially getting in the way of them taking positive action towards that goal. And it did not matter whether it was a sick pet, whether it was a deadline at work, whether it was a sort of fractured connection with someone important to them, maybe it was a friend or a colleague or a partner. It did not matter in what sort of context the threat occurred. Every time with these individuals who were moving towards weight loss, every time they would engage in some level of eating when they got emotionally uncomfortable. So it could have been, now I'm snacking on the chocolates in my desk, or I'm going to the break room and I'm eating that donut, all the way to full-on binge eating, where I'm hiding what I'm doing and I'm driving to multiple fast food places and getting food and eating it. So there was a continuum of emotional eating. And so to your question, that appears to be the biggest barrier, and it's been shown in the research as well.
This is fascinating. So now it makes me curious to know when in our lives we attached that level of comfort with food. That's worth exploring.
Yeah, it certainly is worth exploring. And I mean, it could have started at any time. I work with individuals who didn't necessarily have any sort of strange comfort-related attachment to food until they decided to start preparing for a bodybuilding competition, for example, and their mindset shifted from just food being food. Food is nourishing. When I'm hungry, I eat, and when I'm full, I stop, to their lives revolve around the clock and what time they're going to eat again. And in such a, I would say, rigid, stringent sort of environment that requires a significant level of just regimentation to prepare for, discomfort isn't tolerated well. So the goal is like, and I I say this to my clients, the goal is not to feel better. The goal needs to be to become a better feeler.
Oh, wow. That's where all of the emotional, you're saying you do emotional coaching as well. That's where all of that comes in.
Yes, absolutely. We need to learn how to embrace all emotion, to see emotion not as bad, but as necessary. Whether we would label it as uncomfortable or not, whatever is here right now that I'm experiencing in my body, because emotion is energy. How do we know we're experiencing emotion? We feel it, right? Mm-hmm. You guys can't see me. Like, I'm all over the place with my arms and hands. I'm like rubbing my stomach right now. Like, we get butterflies in our stomach, literally, and our shoulders end up around our ears, and we clench our teeth. Like, this is all bodily, and it's sensation. So when we're experiencing something physical like that, biological, there's an emotion happening. We have to learn to not necessarily attach it to something that is bad or uncomfortable or needs to be changed, or I got to get away from this. We need to learn to approach it in a new way so that we can use it as a cue to understand ourselves better.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautifully said. Everything you just said. I absolutely love all of it. It's almost like neuro-linguistic programming in a way that you have to learn to detach it from the bad thing that you've attached it to, or the perceived bad thing, and attach it now to something really good.
Absolutely, Tony. That's exactly it. And, I look at it from the perspective of we are a product of just all of these layers of conditioning from the time that we were born. Like, when we were born, we didn't make associations about things. We saw whoever delivered us. We saw that face, and we didn't see a face. We saw something. It was just like, we didn't even know it was called a face. That's what I'm talking about, is we had no associations. We had no beliefs, right? There was none of that. But then as we grow up and as we start, maturing, and we go to school and we're in all of these different environments, and we meet all of these different people, and they send us all of these different messages, and we absorb all of these things from society too. They're just layer upon layer upon layer of conditioning. And so the practice is to get out from underneath all of that so that we can begin to look at things a little bit more objectively, and or just recognize, like, no, that thought I just had that my mind created, that's not, do I really believe that? Or where did that come from? Like, no, that was something my mom said. No, she was the one that felt that way, and I just absorbed it.
So let me ask you this. How do you get your clients to come to this realization, to discover what their true belief systems really are?
I ask them to reflect. I mean, we engage in it's a very collaborative, it becomes very intimate process. And the people who are working with me know that they're going to be uncomfortable a little bit. Yeah. But they're willing. They want that. They're in a place where they're like, I want to shed this. This weight on me is not just physical. This is emotional weight. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I need to take off this freaking heavy backpack that I've been carrying around with all this junk inside of it. And a ton of it is junk I don't even know that's in there.
Wow, that is a really great visual. Holy moly.
Unpack all of it, get rid of the stuff that we don't need, keep what's valuable, and then put in there too what is generative, what we want to carry around, because it's not heavy. It provides a foundation for us. It helps us balance. We can walk more upright with it.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic. I love that. With my clients, whenever we're trying to talk about belief systems and stripping that down, I get them to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and start writing out what, I think would be your non-negotiables, the things that you absolutely ride or die stand by, and you're not going to shift for anybody, or so you think. So to write them all down, and start to ask yourself where these ideas came from. Do you even really believe that?
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And another question is, what are you doing right now? What are the actions that you take throughout the day that have a purpose for you?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
We're going through the motions. We're doing something because we've always done it, but we haven't really considered whether or not it's in line with our values, with the intentions we've set, with the goals that are important to us, with, the intimacy in our relationship, whatever it is. How are you spending your time? I actually have people track their time like minute by minute throughout the day too, because a lot of times that's what you hear as well. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to eat well. I don't have time to cook. Well, let's just do an experiment. Let's see where is all your time going? We all have 24 hours in a day. So what are you prioritizing?
And how are you planning?
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I love that. I was thinking a lot about, this interview that we were going to do today. And one of the things that stood out in my mind was this idea that we have that I don't think a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about, which is who we are actually and who we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And thinking that you're one way and thinking that you're actually in line with that, but then your actions and your behavior and your thought patterns are something completely different.
Oh, yes.
And that's also tied into belief systems as well.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I just was involved in a conversation with a client of mine today. This is a super simple, quick example. And he said something about being a lazy person. And I thought, now, are you a lazy person? Like, is that your identity? Like you came out of the womb that way? Or are you taking actions that you're perceiving as lazy? Because you saying you're a lazy person is a lot more difficult to get out from under than this is an action that appears to be lazy and we can change that.
Yes, language. We have to really be careful of how we describe ourselves and the words we use. Yes.
Completely. Here's another simple example with that. You mentioned like non-attachment or like disidentifying from something. Emotion, we'll often say something like, I'm stressed, or I'm sad, or I'm ashamed. And that to me, it's a beast, because it's like every cell of our bodies is that emotion: sad, depressed, discouraged, ashamed, whatever it is. Instead, what if we said something like, this is an experience of sadness. This is an experience of shame. Because then there's some distance. We are not it. This is a circumstance of that. And now I'm a little separate from it, and I can look at it to approach it differently. If I am it, there is no approaching because it's me.
Wow, that's amazing. That's like really taking accountability for the words that you're using around your day. Absolutely. Holy moly, I love that. And that actually is quite liberating, isn't it? When you can really control your environment to this extent.
Yes. I mentioned at the very beginning when you said who I serve, and I said I serve people who are looking for freedom. You just said liberating. Yes. There are such, I don't want to say, well, I'll say simple things that we can do. They aren't necessarily easy, but they don't take a lot of work and have tremendous positive benefit. And that's one of them.
And that's one of them, yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. Now, let me ask you, a lot of the listeners are going through divorce or separation, or they have gone through it. What would you say to people who are feeling at their absolute lowest, who've piled on some pounds? I mean, that's what happened to me. When you're not in a happy marriage, it's really easy to sort of drink it all away or to eat it all away, as we were talking about emotional eating. So you're down in the dumps, you're at your lowest. All you really want is to pick up the pieces. How do you get the gumption under you to start working out and eating well?
Well, I think that, That question, A, it's not easy. B, it doesn't have to be easy. C, we don't expect and can't expect that it will be easy. D, we need support. We need to connect with others who we feel can have our backs, that we feel we belong with, and we feel a sense of belonging. We feel loved by, and we feel like we can love. So I'm divorced too, and that was it was one person in my life who served as a foundation for me being able to say, I'm going to ask for a divorce. I don't know that I could have done it without one person being there almost as my backbone, right? So connection is incredibly important. And in all my work, connection is one of our most basic psychological needs. And it's a sense of relatedness. It's a sense of belonging. It's not, I have to change myself in order to fit in. That's not it at all. It's that I am loved for just who I am, basically, simply. I don't have to be anyone else. This is me, authentic and real, falling apart, feeling completely messy right now because of what's occurring in my life. And it's okay. The other thing to remember, because a lot of this isn't just about taking actions behaviorally, it's shifting how we're thinking about our current circumstances. When we're in that situation, we're not at our best.
Yeah.
We don't feel like we have the confidence. We don't feel like we have the energy that we would in other places and times. The circumstances are different. And so to think that, I know I was thinking man, if only, I could do what I did then or act the way that I did back then 10 years ago. Well, that's not going to help us. That's not where we are. We were capable of that then. Our abilities now are different.
Isn't that absolutely amazing how that happens? How when we go through the divorce or the separation part of it, we instinctually want to go back to how we were before we were married to that person.
Yes.
That's so dangerous, I think, because you're setting yourself up against somebody who didn't have any of the things that you have now. Yeah.
Correct. Circumstances are completely different. And so, one of my mantras, and one of the mantras that a lot of my clients adopt, because, they set intentions, but they set intentions based on who they used to be or who they want to be. And that can be valuable. Let's think about your future self so that you can begin scaffolding the skills and the capacities and the strengths to become that person. But right now, under the current circumstances, with the skills that you have right now, and with your values that you have right now, let's let those things be a foundation for you moving forward.
So who you are, that's perfectly acceptable to be who you are in this moment.
Completely. Yes. And to move away from pushing the emotion away. And that's not from pushing the emotion away to approaching it in a more generative, compassionate way. And, I work a lot with self-compassion. What does that look like? What does it even mean? Because when we're in this situation where a relationship is fractured and we're feeling completely ashamed and should have done things differently, and the kids are going to be affected negatively, and we have all of these very traumatic sort of thoughts going through our heads about how it's going to turn out like the absolute worst. I mean, I don't know anyone who has necessarily gone through a divorce and is thinking really optimistically and positively through the whole thing. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure they do. But I don't know any. And so the real practice in a situation like that is to accept and not resist, because what we resist persists. What we resist becomes more intense.
Oh, I love that. What we resist persists. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. And again, not easy, but necessary. All we have is this moment right now in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to approach it? Because this is something that many women, especially, and moms struggle with, is putting ourselves first. And maybe that's not even the best language to use, talking about language, putting ourselves first. But how about this? Prioritizing our health and well-being.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So this is one of the questions that I had for you today, was all about being able to put ourselves first. You know, this act of self-love, I think, with regard to diet and nutrition is so important, yet for some reason, I think, you know, especially as we get older, right, we need to really start thinking about this stuff. But if we've never done it before, how do we know how to do it now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And well, we have to be willing to learn. We have to be willing to ask questions and to not rush it, but to pick one thing. I think so many of us get into this mindset that it has to be fixed yesterday, you know? And we're in this mindset that we need to be fixed, that we are broken. And that's not the case.
Wow.
We may have struggles. We may have things that aren't ideal, but we're not incapacitated. We're not.
Yeah.
And the part of us that thinks, that actually notices that we're thinking we're incapacitated and broken, that's the part of us that knows we're not. There are other parts of us.
Isn't that so funny how we really zero in on the thing that we perceive to be the worst, and we just focus on it obsessively?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if we know we're doing it, if there's that level, that little blip of awareness where we're like, oh, I'm doing it, that's where my mind has gone, then we know we have the capacity to refocus our attention. This is attentional training. A lot of my clients are engaged in like mindfulness exercise. That's all that is. You know, we could get into the whole history of mindfulness, but it's not necessary. It's a non-judgmental awareness of the present moment on purpose. That's all mindfulness is. It's being able to say, oh, I'm having that thought again, and it's really not accurate. It's not helping me. It's not moving me towards a generative, compassionate approach. I'm going to shift my attention right now to what will be in line with my values, in line with this next best step I can take towards my best self, or this intention that I have.
That's absolutely perfect. I love that. And so, you know, I would suggest too, you know, just to add to everything amazing you just said, to come up with a plan to course correct. Like when you feel like you're going through that and you're obsessing in this unhealthy way, or you're fixating on something that's just dragging you down, that you have a plan for what to do when you do that. Yes. If we're eating in an unhealthy way, if we're eating emotionally, then as soon as we start acting this way, whatever's triggered inside of us will cause us to want to eat. So maybe we should be finding something else to do with our hands.
I completely agree with you. And I will say that when we're already engaged in the action, it's that much more difficult to stop it or get out of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have all of the dopamine that's being released because what we're doing is pleasurable. It feels much better than feeling what we were. Mm. And so if we back up a little bit, really getting to know and reflecting upon what are the emotions that typically drive us toward whatever it is, food, alcohol, what are the emotions typically? Name them, give them names. How do I know I'm experiencing that emotion? What happens in my body? What are the signs? Those are the things on the outside. Like, do I start fidgeting? Can I not stay in my chair at work? Am I up and down and all around? Ask the people who are close to you. Ask your colleagues, like, when I appear anxious, what do I do? You're going to get some really valuable information. And then go to the symptoms. What are the things on the inside that no one else can see except you know they're occurring? Like, my thoughts are completely scattered and chaotic, or my heart rate feels like my heart feels like it's going to bust out of my chest, or my stomach feels queasy, or I'm clenching my teeth, signs and symptoms to get to a new level of awareness so that you can begin paying attention, so that as those things arise, now you can begin developing a plan for what to do to bring yourself into a better space. And that's not pushing away the feeling. Mm-hmm. It's getting in touch with yourself in a way that allows you to be able to help yourself.
Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I love how much you're giving to everybody who's listening. This is fantastic. This is like another level of self-awareness. I love this.
Awesome. Yeah. I hope that it's resonating with everyone. I mean, what's difficult for me, I think, Tanya, in many ways is like, it makes sense in theory, but people really need the help to begin putting it into place in their lives and practicing it, so that it begins to make sense within them. So
it's always interesting how we think that, what's got us here now is enough to teach us something new and in order to push ourselves. And that's clearly not the case. I mean, I don't know how you feel about coaches. You are one, but for me, every single thing in my life that I've done is because I listened to my intuition and I understood that I needed somebody else to show me and to guide me so that I could grow further. So I really wanted just to point that out because it's really easy to think I got this, I can go pick up some book and, there's another book that we're not going to really read, or we're going to try something else, some other kind of diet that, we don't really understand. So we're not going to really finish it, so I really want to stress the level of importance to, finding a coach, work with Kori. I think this is fantastic. I think whoever would work with you would get so much out of this.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I agree with you in so many ways, and I may not be the best coach for everyone. That's why there's so many coaches. There's so many different types of people that someone's going to resonate with, but that's the main thing is a coach puts you in a position to be able to be, as if it's safe and it's a trusting environment, to be more vulnerable. And to be more open and to be in a space where you're listening to learn and listening to understand and the defenses come down. And the other piece of it is you really being able to assess with this person how what you're practicing is going to benefit you. And when we're talking about diets and the typical industry diet where it's eat this, don't eat that, it may appear quote unquote easy to follow, except that when 98% of individuals are gaining all of their weight back and more within 5 years, what it shows is it hasn't been personalized. It hasn't been individualized. And if you're working with the appropriate coach who wants you to succeed long term, that coach is going to be collaborative. That coach is going to help you discern what your choices are. It's not black and white. It's not all or nothing. And I would encourage you to ask yourselves, when has your life turned out really well when you view it that way?
Wow, that's such a good point. Everybody's different. Everybody's body type is different. How we, for me personally, I know what protein does for my body and how great that is for me, but the person next to me might not do the same thing for them. So yeah, oh my goodness, the right nutrition plan is absolutely important. And this is what you're saying could guarantee not falling into that 98% who gain all the weight back.
Absolutely. And if you look at nutrition, like we're looking at emotion, you mentioned, I know what it feels like when I don't eat protein at certain meals. I get a sense for how my energy levels are affected and how my blood sugar stability is and how it changes my hunger. Well, that's just like emotion. When I'm having an experience of this emotion, this is how it affects my body. So for any person who wants to lose weight, get healthy, increase their fitness level, start adopting healthier habits so that they can feel more energetic, feel more vital, have a greater level of motivation, meaning, and purpose in their lives. It's a process of becoming more aware.
Wow. I love that. Now let's get to, you had just told me, which I think is fantastic, that you've just released a new course that I'm really excited about. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. I'm excited about it. This is a 7-week online course, Tanya, and it's called We Eat How We Live, End Emotional Eating and Change Your Relationship with Food. So each week members get a podcast and a video. They can choose which one. Some people like to watch. They like to watch my silly face. And other people like to listen. So they can choose which one they want to partake in. And then there's also an accompanying PDF that includes an activity that I ask them to engage in some sort of homework that's going to increase their level of awareness over the course of the week. And each week builds on the previous one so that by the time they get to 7 weeks, they have really, really scaffolded their skills of awareness. They're understanding where their time is going. They're understanding what emotions they feel and how they feel them and where they feel them and in what context of their lives. Because like I said, it's not all or nothing. It's not black and white. So the course opens them up to new levels of insight about themselves. So they're practicing mindful eating. They get to learn what that means. And here's what I love about it. It's all about food and it's all about eating. But at the heart of it, everything that they're learning, the capacities that they're generating through this course extend through every other context of their lives. They're skills that they can implement within their relationships to increase intimacy and connection. They're skills like if you're a student and, your intention is to get really good grades and be able to focus studying. All in work, in your career, it all extends into every single area of your life, these skills.
I absolutely agree with that 100%. And I think about that often. For example, if I've got a really messy space in some part of my house, that messy space isn't just in that part of that house. That messy space is also in a part of my mind. Right? It's true. And so I mean, that's just me, but I think that, messy house, messy mind. So I can see how building skills in one area will extend itself across all areas of your life for sure. Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? You've offered something really generous. You want to offer a discount to the listeners. Is that right?
I do. Yes. And I will have a code available for everyone and we'll have that in the show notes, right?
Yes, we'll have that in the show notes for sure. And everybody is going to be directed to thedietdoc.com if you want to have a look around there and just look in the show notes where you're going to see the code for that course.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Well, let me say thank you so much for being here, Kori. This is always so great to interview you, and I really love talking to you.
Well, thank you. I hope that the information really resonates with everyone. And I'd like to, if anyone wants to reach out to me, Tanya, is it okay? I'd love to give them my email.
Yes, please.
Questions. Okay. It's Kori, Kori, at thedietdoc.com. And thank you again, Tanya. It was really great to be here again with you. Oh my
goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you. I want to say thank you to everybody who's listening. You are listening to Thriving After Divorce Radio, and I am your host, Tanya Marie Dubé, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again so much for joining us on the Thriving After Divorce Radio podcast. We're coming to you every Monday morning so that you can start your week with intention and some powerful advice for what you're dealing with. So please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends and your family. My goal is to help change 1 million lives with this work, because when you teach a woman, you teach an entire community. Everybody benefits and the love spreads. So please feel free to comment, review, share, and like. With your help, I know I can reach this goal. So have a beautiful day, and we will see you next week.